Good evening. Here is the world news from BGI TV, Babad Bagire Imo TV. I am Morire Rabila Lawal. First are the major headlines for the world news. Retired soldiers storm defense ministry, protest unpaid allowances. Why Nigerians can't allow to bear arms by NSCDC boards. Kidnappers abduct 3 in Suleja as female pastor orders regain freedom. Nigerian soldier wrestle armed policemen to the ground at checkpoints. Still on the world news, vehicles loaded with ammunition and IEDs intercepted in Ikorodu, Lagos. Overship crisis, Ogun indigents reject new Oba of Ibeshe. Knocks as stranded portable rain courses on FG. Gunmen attack school, kills children, teachers, self. And in sports, Algeria coach Belmadi will respect Super Eagles. Second sport, Oshoala scores fourth goal of the season in Barca's win at Villarreal. Now the news in detail. Military veterans under the aegis of the retired members of Nigerian Armed Forces and the coalition of concerned military veterans state the third phase of the protest over the non-payment of their security debarment allowance, among others, at the Ministry of Defense in Abuja on Monday. The protesters pitched a tent and blocked access to the Ministry of Defense located at Ship House on Olusegun Obasanjo Way in the country's capital city. The retired military men had in January this year picked the Ministries of Defense and Finance and National Assembly in pursuit of the same demand. The National Secretary, Remanaf Ambassador Roy Okedibe, who spoke on correspondence during Monday's protest, noted that the demonstration was to demand the payment of their security debarment allowance owed them by the federal government, adding that the Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Magashi, retired, had refused to disburse the allowances despite approval by President Muhammadu Buhari's regime. The board said, "We have had meetings with the Defense Minister Magashi, but he appears to be headstrong, heartless, and up at top concerning the grievance of retired military officers, as he never paid nor showed any interest or concern to pay these allowances, especially the security debarment allowance." Interestingly, President Muhammadu Buhari-led regime had approved the payments for these allowances, but Bagashi has refused to make the disbursement. Also, the spokesperson for the CCMW, Abiodun Durujai Abbott, told our correspondent that Monday protest was focused on the non-payment of the security debarment allowance, adding that they were determined to sleep over at the entrance of the Defense Ministry. Moving on to the next story. It's coming from the NSCDC. The Commandant General of the Nigerian Security and Defense Corps, NSCDC, Dr. Ahmed Audi, has said Nigerians are not ripe to be allowed to bear arms. Audi spoke when he featured on the news agency of Nigerian Forum yesterday in Abuja. He said, "I strongly disapprove of it. Even now that there is no law in existence, you still have proliferation of small arms and light weapons in the hands of people. It has to do with civilization and education. Even in Europe and America, where they have that law, where virtually everybody, once you can drive, can have arms, they are trying to control it now because of how some events unfold. In the world, especially in Europe and America, somebody will just wake up and just go to a school and open fire on the kids. You know, that is madness. And as for me, I don't think we are there yet to allow citizens carry arms in Nigeria." The NSCDC board also spoke on government effort to address farmers' health clashes across the country. Audi described the unit as a specialized department which also helps to reconcile farmers and herders. They are still there. Presently, we have even trained about 3,000 of them. As you can even see me citing here, this is their firm and uniform, the uniform of Agro Rangers. Moving to the next story. Suspected kidnappers have abducted 2 women and a man around 900 Motel in Jepap area of Suleja town, Niger State. This happened a week after hoodlums abducted 4 people, including a female pastor in the town, but were released on Tuesday following an undisclosed amount of money paid to the abductors. Sources in the community told City and Crime that the kidnappers sneaked into the community around 1 p.m. on Saturday and broke into a family house where they abducted a housewife and a 10-year-old daughter. One of the residents revealed that the incident happened after a misunderstanding with a man recently who allegedly threatened that she should expect his reaction. He said the bandits had also abducted another man before they fled. Meanwhile, the female pastor that was freed has been taken to a hospital for treatment. Our reporter was barred from speaking to the pastor when he visited the clinic, but a relative said she was recuperating. The spokesman of the Niger State Police Command, DSP Wasiu Abiodun, did not respond to several phone calls and text messages sent to his phone. Still on the world news from Ibadan. 2 vehicles fully loaded with ammunition, guns, and IEDs were discovered in a scrapyard within the estate along the Itamada-Ejede Road in Ikorodu, perhaps in Lagos. Eyewitnesses report stated that the scrapyard within Powerline Unit Estates Idiroko belongs to a group of housemen who have been operating the yard for a while. Report received stated that the men were loading vehicles with plans to move the items to an unknown destination before they were apprehended. The men have been handed over to the police for investigation and thorough questioning. And to the next story from Ogun State. Some aggrieved indigenes of Ibeshe have rejected the choice of Oba Rotimi Mulero as the new monarch of the ancient town. The indigenes, majority of whom are sons and daughters of the ruling house, held a peaceful protest in Ibeshe to demonstrate their refusal of Oba Mulero as the new Abaru of Ibeshe land. With placards claiming that the descendants said they would not allow a non-perennial person to rule them as Oba of Ibeshe. Then it posed report that Ibeshe, the community hosting Dangote cement factory, lost its monarch, Oba Joel Bangushe, in January 2017. Since then, the ruling house has been making frantic efforts to have a new king installed. Recently, the Ogun State Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs approved Mulero as the new traditional ruler of Ibeshe. This followed an election reportedly held by the Ibeshe kingmakers to elect one of the candidates contesting for the stool. But reacting, the ruling house said the process should not have started initially because there is a subsisting court injunction that all activities relating to Ibeshe oversheet installation to be put on hold. In case you're just joining, you are watching the world news from BGI TV. More to come on the news. It's coming from the sports story. Desert Foxes of Algeria head coach Jamal Belmadi says he has total respect for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. The North Africans are unbeaten in the last 3 matches against the Super Eagles. Belmadi's side defeated the Sales Stars of Guinea 1-0 last week Friday. The Gaffer gave a number of newer players to run out as the likes of Riyad Mahrez, Yusuf Belali, and Aisha Mandi were only named amongst the substitutes. The former Algeria international however promised to field a stronger team against the Super Eagles. Nigeria is another game. We will try to get the whole group to play. The next game, there will be more connection in our game because there will be players who are used to being there, Belmadi said. You need optimism to have a smaller game. Opposite will have a good opposition. It's not a small team. And before we call it a wrap, there is still a sports story. Aziza Toshoala scored her first goal of the season as champions Barcelona thrashed Villarreal 4-1 in their second league game of the Spanish women's top flight on Sunday. It is Barcelona's second win in the new season after kicking off the campaign with a 2-0 victory over Granadilla de Tenerife. Oshel netted in the 48th minutes to make it 2-0 after Marpi Leon had opened scoring in the 28th minutes. The reigning African Women's Player of the Year ran on to a through pass and brilliantly chipped the Villarreal goalkeeper. The Super Falcons striker was replaced by Pina in the 66th minute. Villarreal reduced the deficit thanks to Roshu Garcia in the 56th minute, but with 15 minutes left, Claudia Pina made it 3-1. And in the 85th minute, an own goal by Lara Mata put Barcelona 4-1 up. The win took Barcelona to the top of the log on 6 points, same positions and points as Madrid and Atletico Madrid, both ahead on goals difference. That concludes the world news from BGI TV. Before we go, let's quickly have some major headlines. Retired soldiers storm Defense Ministry, protest unpaid allowances. Why Nigerians can't allow to be armed by NSCDC boards. Kidnappers abduct 3 in Suleja as female pastor others regain freedom. We also brought to you that the reigning African Women Footballer of the Year, Oshuala, scores first goal of the season in Baka's win at Villarreal. For more updates on YouTube, our handle is Bdùct Imo TV. Kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell. Select option all to access our broadcast. On Facebook, Bdùct Imo with Alawiye Adebayo. Please like and follow the page. On Instagram, Bdùct Imo _22. For advert placement of goods and services, coverage of events and function, please dial the phone number streaming on your screen for advert placements only. Thank you for watching. I am Morire Rebila Lawa. Good evening.
Oh, na, na, na. If you want to know what's going on in city, or you want to listen to the latest news and gist, no stress, oh, just tune to BGI TV. BGI TV, you're one in a million.